Okay, we'll start. And if a couple of people trickle in, they trickle in. Deal?
Everybody have their notebooks and pens? Let's see them.
Because you're in class. You guys
Let's
are
see
in
them.
class now.
Look at them all. Perfect.
Cute.
Um, and you guys don't have to write down every single word ever because it's recorded too. So be engaged. If you have a question, if she's mid sentence and you have a question, just engage like we're in person, okay? Um, Breonna's really cool. We're a lot alike. We grew up playing together, like I told you guys. But I'll give her a chance to go ahead and introduce yourself, Bree. Other
Okay.
sports you played,
Oh,
activities. I said she's a Girl Scout. We got a lot of Girl Scouts in this call here. Um, and just your growth through the sport, all the levels you played, and kind of what you're doing now, too.
okay. So my name is Breona. I grew up in Arizona, like Tori was saying. We played together, but we also are really, really good friends growing up, so that made it fun. As you know, you start to develop friendships through the sport, which was one of my favorite things. So I played so many sports growing up. I started with karate. So believe it or not, I have my black belt, even though I look a little girl, little thing, you know. And then I played volleyball and basketball and softball all in junior high. So in seventh and eighth grade, I played those sports. And then I did gymnastics. And then I think it was like eighth grade. I had to choose between, or maybe it was like seventh grade. I'm trying to remember. But, anyways, I had to choose between a sport to focus my time on because, as you guys know, softball is very time consuming. And so, if you want to be great at something, you need to put the time and the effort and everything into it. So, I chose club softball. And that's when I joined Quicksilver when me and Tori played together. And I would say I started my softball career kind of late. Like I did Little League, but my first club team was with Tori. And then that's when I was like, yeah, this is for me. Like I started taking it more seriously because I knew I wanted to play in high school and then I wanted to try and play in college. So and then also, I was a Girl Scout, and I'm actually a lifetime member. So I can volunteer my time whenever I want, or if there's any events. My mom's a volunteer as well. We just kind of go to different events and volunteer our time and give back to the community. And right now, I work at Phoenix Children's Hospital as a patient care technician. So I just kind of do like patient screenings and different like urine or blood testing for the patients. I currently work on the oncology floor, which means that the kids have cancer. So it can be really sad at times, but I just feel like I have that personality to make a difference in their day. And then I also still do coaching. I coach it's called DBAT. I don't know if you guys have heard of that.
Yeah,
Do they know about
it's a
that?
big
Okay.
chain. They've
Okay.
probably seen
So,
it posted and stuff. Like,
okay, cool. So, it's called DBAT Mesa. It's kind of where Tori and I grew up. I do my lessons there, and then kind of bouncing around a little bit. But I also
oh, you're
coach
fine.
college ball. So I coached 1 year at Scottsdale Community College, and then 1 year at Mesa Community College. So yeah, and then I went to Mesquite High School. So Tori went to Gilbert High. I went to Mesquite High. So
Worst day of my life.
yeah, during our whole club ball thing, we had to choose. Well, not really choose, but we kind of got split up because I
Hmm.
went one way, she went the other way, and then from there, from high school, I got recruited to play at Scottsdale Community College. And so I played my 2 years community college there, and then I transferred to Arizona State. That's where I finished my softball career. So that kind of was a little like a little around and then back to the whole softball thing. But I think that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's how it
Yeah.
feels looking back for sure.
Yeah. You're like, dang, that's really what happened.
But we have some 12U girls, 14U girls,
Okay.
and 16U girls on here.
Okay.
So I think at our age, we played seventh and eighth grade, and I think it was about eighth grade we all decided to take it more seriously. We went
Right.
to summer nationals,
Mm-hmm.
and started talking about college recruiting in like ninth and 10th grade, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you remember from that process? Because I remember just
You're like,
thinking I have plenty of time, like
yeah.
no big deal. And
Mm-hmm.
I really regretted like as a senior out in California, like not taking some of those showcases and stuff more seriously.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying like as a 14U or 16U, what do you remember from any of that?
I would say like I knew because I think for me I had to choose between all these sports I grew up with.
Yeah.
So like I had like gymnastics, the whole volleyball, basketball, all these sports. My parents like you need to choose one, and I was just like no. So I think for me knowing that softball is what I really really wanted to do, it made me more disciplined and
Hmm.
I had a goal, and my goal was to play D1 softball, and your girl made it. Go
Hey.
Devils. Okay. But not even just ASU, but junior college, I learned a lot as well. But I would say through the process, I think around that age, you want to have fun with your friends. You want to like go to prom. Well, not I don't know if it's prom, homecoming. Like do all
Yeah.
these things
We
like
did
with your
that
friend.
freshman year. I went to your homecoming freshman year.
Yeah, and
We
you
did all
it's
that.
like
Yeah.
exactly. So I think around this time in your life, okay, you got to figure out what's important to you. So like you'd say there's your needs versus your wants. Do I need to go to my friend's party? Granted, we can't now because we're all in quarantine. So you guys are actually getting a step in the right direction
Yeah.
to start your routine now because there's no choice right now. But um, just kind of like understanding what you're trying to do, like your needs versus your wants. Do I need to go or do I want to go? Okay. So, like, the other thing too is like your grades are very important. So, if you're not taking school seriously, I would use this time to reflect and just try and get back on track. Because we all know everybody has a lot of time on our hands right now. And I feel like this time you could really use to turn the bus around. It's never too late to start taking school seriously because, especially in high school, like I think I had like a 3.6 GPA.
Hmm.
And then that's so at junior college, I had everything paid for. And then in ASU, I had some academic and then some athletic, but it wasn't anywhere near junior college. But they look at your grades. So, like, if you don't have good grades, they're just kind of like, I don't even want to worry about this player. They could have the most athletic ability, they could have the nicest family, but if you like don't take school seriously, you're a student athlete. So like you look at student first and then athlete. So if you're not taking school seriously, then it's just kind of like, well, how do you expect to play if you're not getting the grades, if that makes sense? So
Totally.
in a nutshell, I guess I would say during this age, just try and I guess do some self-reflecting, like work on maybe make a list of things that you want to improve to make yourself better. So whether it's taking an extra 30 minutes to reread your notes, or I don't know how like school's going right now, but just to make your grades improve, I guess. And then also set up a routine. So especially with all this time on your hands right now, like you could be like, I'm going to get up at this time, I'm going to eat breakfast, I'm going to do all these different things. Like make sure you're staying in shape and you're still training, even though I don't know if they're
Yeah, we know we're doing
great.
workouts and
You are? Okay,
it's
good.
yeah, and I tell them all the time, I'm like, I would have died doing the stuff you guys do now.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
we
Like I
didn't
look
I don't
back, those are
remember
things. Yeah.
training like that.
Yeah,
So they're yeah,
exactly.
they're these are really good kids.
Good.
Um what she said about Arizona community colleges, I call them junior colleges all the time because that's what Arizona called them. You
Yeah.
can get scholarships
Mm-hmm.
to community colleges other than California ones. So
Mm-hmm.
California ones, you get financial aid and like other types of things, but you can get
Mm-hmm.
scholarships just like D1s, D2s,
Mm-hmm.
D3s, NAIs. Arizona ones, I know Texas ones are big, Florida
Mm-hmm.
ones.
Mm-hmm.
Colorado even,
Yeah.
right? Some of
Mm-hmm.
those. But so that's what she said about her getting fully paid at Scottsdale is really cool, and those programs were awesome. I remember
Mm-hmm.
looking back at you guys playing, and
Yeah.
I think like our friend Alicia went to MCC. A lot of our friends,
Yeah.
or Phoenix,
It was Phoenix. Yeah, Phoenix.
But some went to MCC, like Mariah, Sid, I
Yeah,
know. So it's cool.
exactly. Mm-hmm.
Um, what was that process like transferring? Like, did you know you wanted to go to ASU or did they seek you out? Like, how did that go?
So I would say like in eighth grade, I would say I'm going to ASU. Like I
Mm-hmm.
would just kind of say that, like even through elementary school is more of like a joke, not a joke, but I was just kind of like, what are the odds of me going there? Because living in Arizona, there's really only a few D1 schools, which it was like Arizona State, you got U of A, and then Grand Canyon, which if I
That's
would
it.
have gone there, they wouldn't have been able to. I think it was like they weren't qualified yet because their school had just opened or something. Like they couldn't go to
Mm-hmm.
playoffs. I remember that being a thing. Like Andy.
Oh, I think they had just went from D2 to D1
Yeah, that's
during
what it
that
was.
time.
That's what it was. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just remember like growing up always saying Arizona. Like I want to go to ASU, but like Tori knows like I'm this little munchkin girl. Like I am 5'2". I weigh like at the time I probably weighed like 110 pounds. And
Tiny.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just this little thing. And I was just, it was more of like, no, like, how's that really going to happen? So I think like I'm saying, like, make a goal for yourself and like you can do it. Like, just, I don't know. It's kind of interesting to think about, like, because the whole transition. So, like, I guess I started with a goal in my mind and then, like, I got to junior college and yeah, it wasn't the path that I initially wanted. Like I wanted to go straight to ASU, but the likelihood and like just me, I guess, accepting that like didn't mean I wasn't good enough. I would just say that it wasn't meant to be at that moment. Like I wasn't quite ready, I guess.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't really have been like I don't know how to explain it. Just like the whole overall going to junior college, um, I guess was like a better fit for me at first, like like a better transition because I went from high school and then junior college, which was basically I would say very similar to high school. Like the classes are just a little bigger, but you have more independent time with the teachers if you need it, and like it's
Mm-hmm.
just it's like I thought of it as like a step up from high school. Whereas if you go to straight a
Totally.
university, you have like hundreds of kids in your classes and they don't care if you go to class or not. Like they do not. So I think for me, just going to junior college and then me being like, all right, I know I want to continue playing. I have 2 years left of eligibility. And I remember like me talking to one of my coaches and he just telling me like you need to keep your stats up. But it was kind of
Yeah.
one of those things where I didn't want to like overthink it like in the game like oh I need to get however many more doubles or
Yeah.
I need to hit home runs like
Yeah.
because it would stress me out.
Yeah.
So I think for me it was just more of I had really good stats and on base percentage and like I was hitting third and fourth in the lineup and one of my coaches talked to ASU and then I had an interview. I don't know if it was like an interview or like I went and a visit. I
Yeah.
went visit. That's what it's called.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, geez, this is a
Interview.
long time ago. But yeah, that's kind of how it happened. Like just like yeah. And like
Yeah.
I was on the
A local
traveling
transfer.
exactly like and I
Yep.
was on the traveling squad, which was a big deal because there was probably like 30 something girls on our roster and only 20 of us get to travel. So
Wow.
traveling is cool. Let me just tell you that. I just remember free food. I could eat everything, man. Like, I just remember, like, especially with Marissa, because we grew up with her too, and just like
I was gonna
we go,
ask you about
yeah,
her.
yeah, just like going, like,
Mhm.
we pick a place to eat. You get to order whatever you want. And that's when I started kind of gaining weight. Like, I was getting thicker because I was eating more. So if you're trying to gain weight, like, you need to eat more
D1
throughout the
Blah.
day. Yeah.
Um,
So,
so
yeah.
you brought up Marissa. She was a walk on to ASU, or she just went as a freshman, right? And then
I don't,
redshirted?
I think she got injured. Like,
Okay, so
because
she was
her
there like
ankle,
5 years, right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she didn't play the first couple
Yeah.
until the end, which
Mm-hmm.
we've seen that happen, with tons of people too, because
Yeah.
they make you have those kind of adjustment years as freshman and sophomore and stuff. Are you
Mm-hmm.
happy you got to have the Scottsdale experience before ASU, and like how was your time at ASU? Like how did they use you? I was
Mm-hmm.
telling Alyssa here, we have another little munchkin, and I told her you're not small, and I'm gonna have Breona tell you it doesn't matter if you're
Your
small,
size
because
doesn't matter.
Breona was my catcher for many,
Uh-huh.
many years, and you were
Yep.
feisty and hit for power. But
Yep.
yeah, how was how was that like usage? So like you're a stud at community college, and then you go to ASU,
That was a
and what
transition,
was
let
that
me
like?
tell you, mentally very different. So
Mm-hmm.
I just remember like, so junior college, I played every single game. I started every single game. Like there was no thought in my mind if I was going to play or not. And then I get to ASU and it's like completely different because not only do I need to earn my position, but it's just like there's so much talent. So I think for me, like the first year of me, so going back to junior college, to answer Tori's question is I'm happy I went that route because I got all the playing time in the world. Like if I didn't have that and I like for Marissa, for example, if I had been in her shoes, I would have just been sad because like I made so many sacrifices to like get as great as I am, like with hitting technique and everything, and then not be able to play and use it, well, I would just be like
Go crazy.
devastated. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. So I'm happy I went the junior college route. My first year at ASU, I was utilized mainly as a pinch runner. So like I didn't really get that much playing time. But then again in my head I'm like, okay, it's my first year, like whatever. There's girls that have been on the team for 3 years now and haven't played, or there's
Yeah.
girls their second year and haven't played. So I was kind of using it like that. And then my last year, my senior year, I had a little bit more playing time, but it was nowhere near what I anticipated it being, which kind of stunk, because you're just
Yeah.
not expecting that. But then at the same time, mentally, I focused on the positives of, okay, yeah, I accomplished my dream. Like, two, if I would have went a different route, say I went out of state, then I wouldn't have been able to be with my family or
Yeah.
um, just kind of that stuff is kind of what got me through the whole experience, I guess. Because sometimes, like, you think, like, because I had other offers and like, I chose ASU. So, like, for me not to
Yeah.
get as much playing time as I wanted was just kind of like, dang, that kind of
You're like, I
stinks.
chose this.
Yeah.
So
But overall, like I wouldn't take it back. I look back and I'm just grateful for the experience and I learned a lot, like not even just softball, but about myself, about just time management, like taking school seriously because again, like not to be negative, but after softball, unless you're like Tori and I and you continue coaching, there's no softball. unless you want to like, isn't there like there's some professionals or I don't really know, but it's not
very few.
as, yeah, it's very few. But so I guess like for me overall, like I'm positive about it, and like I got a degree and I had a 3.9 GPA at ASU. So it was like I took school seriously, even though I was a scholar, or they would call us a scholar baller if you had a certain GPA, which was a big deal. Just saying. So, like going back to the grades, I'm telling you guys, schools, if you want to play at the next level, you got to have the grades. So they would, one thing that stuck with me at through my experience at ASU is my academic coach. She told me that there's 3 things. You got your softball, you got your school, and you got your social life. Okay, so those are 3 things, and I want you guys to ponder this in your head. Okay, you have what's most important to you. Is it school? Is it softball? Or is it your friends and your social and all this, right? So there's those 3 things that you have, and you get to choose 2. Okay, so you choose 2, and the third one's gonna suffer. Okay, so meaning like if I were to choose softball in school, then my social life is going to suffer. And that's kind of like the whole moral of the story is you got to be a student first, then come softball, then your social life. Because if you choose it the other way around, like say you're like, oh, I want to go hang out with my friends and do this and whatever, okay, and then you choose softball, well, guess what? Now your academics are suffering. And then now there's no going to be softball because you won't be able to play because you don't got the grades. So it's just like, I guess from my experience is understanding the importance of your grades and just staying focused and having a goal as to what you are trying to accomplish through your journey, because it can get long. And like, I'm going to be honest, like Tori was kind of saying for the girls who were here earlier is like, you don't always want to be at practice. Like it's just the nature of the game. And I don't know, like some days I didn't want to be there, but I showed up and I made the best out of it. And you just like, if you have a goal and you're just like, this is what I want to do, even if it's not a specific school, you can make it a goal just to play junior college or make it to a university, whatever it may be. But
hi, Breona. My name's Eliza.
Hi.
Thank you for jumping on. I had a question.
Okay.
What do you suggest for the girls who do have a hard time with grades? Like,
okay,
suggest that they do take that college route? Like, what would be like your advice on that aspect?
Okay, yeah. So it's funny because at ASU they would call me Mama Brio because I spell my name Breona. So they nicknamed me Brio, which was a new one, let me tell you. But they would call me Mama a lot because I was like, girl, get your homework done and then we can do whatever, you know? So it's funny because some of the girls would be like, Brie, can you meet with me today? And I'm like, gosh, like trying to, again, time management and balancing everything was a key thing. So what I would do if they wanted to meet with me, I would be like, all right, I'm going to study hall. So this was the other thing is starting young, you're probably not going to have study hall hours, but as you get in college, and I don't know about high school, because I don't remember study hall. Do you, Tori? I know, I don't either. But in college, they give you study hall hours, and your study hall hours are based off of your GPA. So if you have a really low GPA, you're going to have like 10, 15 hours a week in study hall. And literally study hall, you're just sitting in there getting your homework done, like no phone, nothing that's going to distract you. And you're just sitting there like looking like just the academic coaches in there, just like, anyone need anything? And so moral of the story is when they would want to meet with me, I would go through their syllabus with them and they would have a planner. So I'd be like, all right, get your planner. Let's go through your syllabus. So we would look and see what's due. Like, what is the most priority? What do you need to get done first? And then we'd make a goal. Okay, your goal is to get this done by this day. So I think that's like one of the main things is time management and understanding like yeah, you may have a really big project due in like 2 weeks, but guess what? You have like 3 assignments prior to that, before that. So if you're not getting that done, so it's just like categorizing and what's time sensitive, like what needs to get done first. Because
Yeah.
if you're not doing little assignments, that adds up in the long run. So like there's a couple of my teammates who barely got a B, and they were so mad. They're like, oh, like I should have got an A. And then they're like, but remember that one time, like when I didn't do that assignment, we just kind of like joked about it at the time. But now we looked back, we're like, if you would have gotten the assignment done, you probably would have gotten an A in the class. So it's just little things that you're like, it's fine, I don't need to do it. Or maybe I don't put all the effort into it, but each assignment counts. And like I would look at it as like a challenge, because I'm just competitive. I have a competitive nature. So just like, okay, I have an assignment. How well am I going to do it? Like, what grade am I going to give myself, I guess? So I guess just one, getting a calendar, a syllabus, and going through getting a calendar and having your syllabus, going through everything and writing out your due dates of assignments and when you're having tests. And if you have tests, you're studying the week prior to that at the very minimum, even if it's like 15, 20 minutes a day. Because if you're waiting to the last minute to read everything, then it's just not going to stick in your head. Trust me, it's just not.
Yeah.
So.
All these things really form habits too. Like
right.
I think my habits were formed from high school into junior college, and so they didn't really transition with me when I really needed them at the universities I was at. And
right.
so I think it's important to learn it at an early age. If you guys could start doing that stuff now,
exactly,
and holding yourself accountable. Who wants to start with questions? I'm going to open up for the girls to ask random questions.
Okay.
Clarissa, go ahead, babe. Unmute yourself.
Okay. Have you ever been in a really bad slump? If so, how did you get out of it?
Okay, that's a great question. So everybody has a slump. I don't care who you are. Okay, so for me, one thing that I learned a lot is the mental game of the sport, okay? Because softball is not only mental, but it's physical. So I would say it's like half and half, if not more mental, because like Tori knows I'm a perfectionist, So like if I'm in a slump, okay, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, and then you start saying things like, wow, I stink, or wow, like you keep acknowledging the slump is going to continue slumping, okay? But if you look at it like, okay, like I'm just not having a great day, then the next day is a new day, So for me, something physically that would work, well, okay, so I'll first tell you mentally. I would tell myself positive things. So like say I kept popping up, or say I kept rolling over, or say I kept striking out. Like you need to say something positive to make that adjustment. So like for me, I would say, okay, I keep popping up, so I'm going to do my best to stay on top of the ball. Okay, I keep rolling over. I need to maintain my hands palm up, palm down, staying through the zone rather than rolling my wrists, right? So if you focus on little, like one thing or two things that you need to work on, then your slump will fix itself. But if you say things like, don't pop up, or like, oh my God, I really don't want to strike out, like that's what's going to happen. And then the slump continues. Another thing, hitting, like especially when I do like front toss, like with my lessons, I will, with the girls I have, I'll usually give them like 4 balls sometimes. And I'll just be like, all right, you have 4 balls. I'll just use this example. I'll say you have 4 balls. Okay. So you're locked in, and she hits the ball. I'm like, all right, is that a hit? And she'll say yes. So we'll kind of go through like, then the next ball, she has another hit. So I'm like telling her like, all right, you're already batting 500. So like something that helped me growing up, or well, not growing up, but like as I got into junior college and ASU, was understanding that this is a game of failure. Because if you get 4 at bats and you get 1 hit, that's good. Let me tell you, okay? But at a young age, we don't understand that yet. Well, maybe some of you guys do, but I didn't. And that's something that if I could have done it over again, I would have not been so hard on myself.
Totally.
But just kind of like having that mentality of knowing, okay, it's a game of failure. Not every day is going to be butterflies and rainbows, but it's how you respond to the failure, I guess. So that's the mental. Physically is just keeping it simple and going back to the basics. So like for me, I would do like little drills that I would do throughout my whole career that just like kind of brought me back home to keeping it simple. Sometimes when you hit with other girls, you start adding a little too much swag. Do you guys know what swag is?
You better.
That's
Okay.
one word that they are trying to learn. Let me just tell you, it's not there yet, but it's coming.
Okay. So swag just means like when you like, you know, like if I know you guys have heard of like a bat flip. Have you guys heard of a bat flip? Give me like a nod or something. Yeah, okay. So sometimes we tend to try and do things that aren't ourself, you know? So like you want to be yourself. There's only one of you in this world, you know? So embrace it, and everyone's unique in their own way. So don't try and copy people because it's working for them, you know? Like I
Love
said,
that.
go back to what's comfortable. So like for me, it's like little drills, top hand, bottom hand. And then I'm like, okay, I build on each thing. I'm building. And the next thing you know, there's no slump. So I wouldn't use the word slump. I would just be like, I'm not performing at the best of my ability today, you know? And it's okay to acknowledge it, but just don't stay on it, you know? Because once you start saying, I'm in a slump, then guess what? Now the slump's like a month and you're like, dang, I'm batting ninth and I'm stressed out because now I'm overanalyzing the lineup.
I'm getting pinch hitters in for me.
Yeah.
No, that's really good advice. That's awesome.
Okay.
Next, give me a hand. Audie, go ahead.
This isn't really a softball question, but how did
Okay.
you choose your major when you were in high school? Since you were so busy with softball, how did you figure out what you wanted to do?
That's a great question. Wow. Okay, so for me, I think in high school I was just more focused on my grades, honestly. I was just like, all right, everyone's gonna have the same classes, most of us, you know. And I a couple things my mom had me do was take these like they're online like career assessments, and it'll basically excuse me, oh my gosh. It'll basically tell you what you're good at. Have you guys heard of that? I don't know. But like you can go online, take a career assessment. It takes maybe like 5 minutes, and it'll categorize what you're good at. Like, are you a good listener? Like, are you a good speaker? Like, do you like working in the healthcare? Like, do you like helping others? Like things like that. It kind of categorizes that, and then it gives you different jobs to maybe look into. So for me, I always wanted to be a nurse. Here's another interesting thing about me. So I always wanted to be a nurse. And when I was in high school, no, when was it? Junior college, I was trying to figure out what I really wanted to do. And I thought at the time it was nursing. So this is the other life lesson, is just like, you may not really know what you want to do, and that's okay. And that's something that I've been dealing with recently. So I got my bachelor's degree in health sciences. And it's just a generic bachelor's degree because when I got to ASU, they wouldn't let me do the nursing program while I played because nursing is too like vigorous. Like you have to have a certain GPA. Like it's very competitive. So I got my bachelor's degree. And then 2 years after that, I was like, oh, I want to do nursing still. Like I'm going to make that happen. Long story short is I just got done going through the program and I quit because it's just not what I wanted to do. Like it just wasn't for me, and that's okay. So going back to how like I'm 26 years old, like, you know, like it's okay to not be that clear of what you want to do. Yeah. So I am using this experience as like how like the whole slump thing, like I'm not taking this life experience. Yeah, it kind of stunk that I was in nursing school and I just wasted that time, but I'm looking at it more of, okay, at least I eliminated that. Clearly that wasn't for me, but now I'm just doing like self-reflection, like what do I want to do? So going back to keeping it simple and doing what I enjoy doing, and that's coaching. So I'm like, maybe I find a school to coach at. Maybe I do more coaching lessons. So I would start with like career assessments online, and even just making a list of things that you may think you're good at. And then you can look it up on the internet. Like, is this something that I would want to do? Because it's not always the easiest to figure that out. And I know, especially for those who are like literally have no idea, like, and you kind of, once your first two semesters usually, or maybe first or year, into college, everyone usually has the same classes anyway, like English 101, English 102, like the college math. So you have time to think about it. But if you don't know, don't stress yourself out, because I'm probably 10 years older and I'm just still figuring it out.
I remember changing my major a couple times in community college, but if you guys are either, don't stress like whether it's community college or a 4-year, because like she said, the first couple years you can change your mind, or you won't even be taking those upper courses like in what you want to do. It's not like you get to college and they're like, all the doctors over here. Like it's not like that.
It's not like that.
But really good question. I know a lot of you guys think that way, like who am I gonna be? What do I do?
What am I?
Like we don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Just going with the flow. You'll become an adult eventually, and then it's just a title. Yeah.
Maybe when you're 40. Give me a hand, girls. Who's next? Ale, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, how did you know you were ready to transfer to a university?
Okay. So junior college, you get 2 years, and then you decide if you want to go to a university or not. So some people, you can get like an associate. I got an associate's degree as well from community college. So some people will just go to junior college to get their associate's degree. And then if they want to proceed further to get a bachelor's degree or continue playing softball is what, like the reason for going to a 4-year a university. So in my case, I knew I wanted to get a bachelor's degree in something. And I chose health sciences because it's broad and I knew I could do anything in it or with it with health. And for me, health is what I enjoy, and like nutrition. So I think that's kind of why I chose that route.
Yeah, totally. Give me another hand, girls. Who we got next? Looking around. Clarissa.
Okay, has there ever been a time where you were so stressed out between softball, school, where like you just wanted to take a break from softball?
I would say me personally, no. But I do have, like, I had experience with some teammates who were literally like, I don't know if this is for me anymore, or there's been experiences where people have quit. And it's kind of like, if you are really, really not enjoying it, then it's kind of like, if maybe it doesn't serve you, you know? But there are some people that have taken a break and come back, you know? I mean, that's okay. But for me personally, I haven't. I would say there's some days where I didn't necessarily want to be there, and maybe because I had homework or I was just tired that day, or maybe I was watching TV too late and didn't get enough sleep, you know? But, you know, it's just kind of part of it.
Yeah. It's not always the greatest place to be
right.
at 6 a.m. and ASU, I assume, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Arizona's hot too, you guys. You gotta remember.
You gotta show up.
we'd be dying out there in 106 degrees. We definitely weren't excited about it, but
We did it.
we managed. Next question. Nicole. Okay, 12U, I see you.
How does softball benefit you as a person now?
What did she say? Can you say that?
How did you say how does softball? Could you
How
type
did
it?
As a person now.
How did softball help me as a
Help you
person
as a
now?
person now?
Benefit you as a
Oh,
Benefit
benefit
you.
me. Okay. How did softball benefit me? Like, how does it benefit me now?
What'd you
Like,
like?
yeah, like how did it benefit me to be who I am today? Kind of thing.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah. Okay. You're like, yeah, that sounds good. I would just say it really taught me. This is something that I challenge you guys because it really taught me to one, be on time. Okay, that's very important. That's very important. Whether it's softball, whether it's school, whether it's, I don't know, meeting up with a friend or just anything. You always want to be on time. And I feel like softball really kind of just drilled that in my head, mainly because I didn't want to, excuse me, mainly
Get in
because I
trouble.
didn't want to run, get in trouble. Like, I'm like, oh, shoot, like, I'm going to make the whole team run if I'm late. So I think, like, with softball, it taught me to be on time to things. Like, that's important. Somebody's waiting for you. Like, you don't just roll in late. Like, if you're early, you're on time. And if you're on time, you're late. You guys
Say
got
that
that?
again.
Say that again. If you're early, you are on time to practice, But if you're late, hold on, I messed it up. If you're on time, you're late. If you're early, you're on time. You could say it either way. Snaps. I'm getting snaps.
Mm-hmm.
So you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. There
That
we go.
adrenaline sticks with you for life, let me tell
Yeah,
you.
let me tell
yeah.
you. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So be on time.
We're
Be on
shaping
time.
you.
Yeah. And then also just kind of like nutrition, because for me, I think it was mainly college, because high school, we all know I didn't eat well. I just eat whatever. But the chicken nuggets in the cafeteria. But
I lived on chicken tenders my whole life.
Me too. And I think it was just kind of like understanding like what I eat is going to fuel my body. So if I'm not eating well, I'm eating hot Cheetos, I don't know what's popular nowadays, but you're not eating well. I see some of you guys looking at each other because of the hot Cheetos. But if you're not eating well and you're just rolling into practice, like, you're not going to have energy, So softball definitely taught me, like, I need to eat well in order to perform at my highest ability, my fullest potential. And if I'm not giving myself the proper nutrients, I'm going to be going during practice. And speaking of that, I have a story to share with everybody. I don't know how long this talk's supposed to be, but like, I have a story that I will never forget this, and it has to do with nutrition. So I was actually at a Hot Shots tryout, and I remember the coaches being like, all right, run to the fence and back. And I was just like, yeah, I'm like running as fast as I can. And like, my body was not moving. I was like, what the heck is happening? I was just so hot and just tired. And I was at my Nana's house, my grandma's house, like, prior to this, like, not eating well at all. So moral of the story is that it was a tryout for a club team. It wasn't even a practice. This is how embarrassing it was. And I legit passed out in the outfield because I was so dehydrated. I was just like laying there, passed out. And my mom like ran on the field and was like dumping water on me. And they called me heat stroke because I passed out. And I will never forget that because it was my own fault. I passed out because I was so dehydrated. And that's like a thing. Like, make sure you're hydrated and like you're taking your health seriously, because it's serious. Like, I will never I could not live that down for a really long time. I had to go to the hospital because my mom's a little paranoid sometimes. Clearly it was heat stroke, I was really dehydrated, but Just take your nutrition seriously. So to answer your question in a nutshell, Nicole, is
She
time
learned everything
management.
the hard way.
Yeah, I learned everything the hard way. So use me as an example. Just be on time to things, eat good. What else? Just understanding if you want to get better at something, you need to put work in. You don't sleep and automatically wake up and you're gifted, you know? I mean, some people are naturally gifted and they would be much better if they practiced.
On that note, I'm gonna interrupt you guys for a question. That was really good advice about nutrition, though. We have a lot of girls on here that we constantly ask, "What did you have for breakfast?"
Mm-hmm.
And we've had these talks a bunch of times. I'm always like, drink water, drink water. And people make
Mm-hmm.
fun of me for how much water I drink now, but I'm like, I'm from Arizona.
Yeah,
So that's
exactly.
why.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna interrupt you guys for a question. With ASU versus Scottsdale, what was like the change in practices, workouts? I assume ASU was like an experience
Oh, man. Yeah.
and lifting, and can you talk about how hard those challenges were, like from
Mm-hmm.
that level to the next?
Mm-hmm. So junior college, I'm not saying it was easy because it wasn't. Like we had weights 3 to 4 times a week at 6 a.m. And the coaches that I had, one of them played for ASU and then one of them previously coached at ASU. So like I was basically getting the training at a junior college that I would have at a university, if that makes sense, because one of the coaches was a player and went through it, and then the other one literally coached ASU. So my practices, I just remember weights 3 days a week, 3 to 4 days, 6 a.m., and I just not like that at all. And then just practices in general, like they were doable, like you were alive by the end of the day, you know? And actually in my junior college experience, I worked also. So like I was able to work at Chipotle. Raise your hand if you eat Chipotle. I used to work there throughout my junior college. So I would literally go to weights, go to class, then I would go to practice, and then I would go work 4 hours at Chipotle. After that, I would come home and do homework. Don't know how I did that, honestly, looking back. But I would say junior college was kind of like doable. Like the practices, yeah, it was hard, but it's not like I was completely drained mentally or physically like that, I guess. Then I get to ASU and I'm like, whoa, man, like weights 4 or 5 days a week, like 6 a.m., like you got to be early. If you're rolling in late, the whole team runs, like not just run into the fence and back. It's like doing sprints. And I will never forget 300s. So you guys know how a football field is 100 yards. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. 100 yards is a football field, okay? Half of that is 50 yards, right? So we would literally they would call them 300s, and we would run 50 yards. So you'd go down, back, down, back, down, back to equal 300 yards. I will never forget those at ASU. Like one time I almost died. And why? Because I didn't eat. So make sure you eat. But I just remember ASU being a whole different level just in the weight room, let alone just learn how to do squats, learn how to do hang cleans, like learn how to do all these different exercises. You can even go on YouTube and like, I'm sure Tori's talked to you about it, but just understanding which lifts you do. Because like, if I didn't know how to do that, it would have been even worse. But I just remember the weight room being a lot different from junior college to university. And then the practices were very, very fast paced and very like time sensitive, meaning there was a schedule like this time, like everybody knew exactly where you were going, like, and you knew when practice would end, which I loved because in junior college, they didn't always tell us when practice was going to end. And I just remember thinking like, am I going to make it? Like, And this is a long day, but at ASU it was very structured and it was a lot different. And I couldn't work when I went to university. It was very hard and just time consuming because we had weights and then we had class practice and then you'd have to go to study hall. So going back to the whole academics and study hall thing is starting young, like making a time, even if it's you tell your parents, hey, hold me accountable for from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. I'm doing homework every day. And then I know you're probably not going to want to do that, but I'm just giving that a suggestion of like making certain hours, like going back to routine, making hours where you're doing homework, because that's something that I wasn't used to. And like, I think I only had to do 4 hours a week because I had a good GPA, but like some people had like 10, 15, and you're just like, oh my gosh. And you have to log in and log out. So and they monitor that. But I would just say university is just it's a different grind, let me tell you.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, it was a lot different. For
And
sure.
this is coming from like this was the most in shape, athletic, healthy girl I ever knew growing up is Breona. So to hear her say it was difficult.
Yeah, it was hard.
I think I wouldn't have been able to do it without community college preparation, or maybe I don't know if I could have done
That's
a
what
D1
I'm
level.
saying.
Yeah. Next question, girls. We got a couple more questions, so don't be shy. Give me some 16.
Yeah, don't be shy.
Nat, go ahead, babe.
You were a starter at your junior college and went to Arizona State and were a pinch runner. Did that affect you mentally and started getting in your head? If so, how did you deal with it?
Okay, that's a great question, actually. So I would say going from that transition of like kind of how Tori was just saying, like I was really in shape, like I'm fast and like I hit for power. So like I always had the approach of ground balls lead to line drives and line drives lead to home runs. So I'd never get up there and try and hit home runs. But I would just say like junior college, I was really good. And then I get to ASU and I think I'm good, like I would say I'm confident, but just not really getting the opportunity, like really mentally. There was like a month where I was just like, meh, like, when you're just kind of there. But I just remember kind of talking with my sister about it. And just one quote that I had on my computer for my whole ASU experience. So for 2 whole years, I had it as my screensaver, was remember the days you prayed for the things you have now. So remember the days you prayed for the things you have now, because I knew I wanted to be at ASU, but was I going to handle the situation in a negative manner of like, wow, I'm not getting the playing time I want? Or am I going to be a good teammate and challenge them in practice and show the coaches that I deserve to be there? So I think like especially my first year transitioning there, it was hard not playing really, like pinch running and then playing outfield, but I would just say it's kind of like how you handle things. It really kind of defines what kind of person and teammate you are. Like you can sit there and pout in the corner, or you can be a good teammate, even if the person that's playing is playing your position, and they're doing well, you like congratulate them, be a good teammate. So I would just say going back to Nicole's question of like how softball has shaped me or has benefited me, is that like kind of being a little more selfless in a sense of like, it's not always going to be about me, but in the end, if the team's doing well and my teammates are doing well, then that's what it should be about. So just kind of being patient and kind of just trusting in everything, I guess.
Totally. I think it's important that you guys realize from hearing from all these former players too, your coaches at the academy included, we don't always get to pick how our playing careers go like we thought we would get to at your ages. And we don't look at it like it was a failure because of that. It's just different. Not everybody gets to pick how they're used.
Mm-hmm.
I've told them a million times, like, I was devastated playing that I got to pitch but not hit in college, and I was always
Mm-hmm.
really upset about that.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't get to choose how coach makes the lineup, essentially. So
Exactly.
your attitude and how you respond to that, you learn from these younger ages too. Start learning that you don't get to pick, and that's okay.
Yep.
We're gonna have 2 more questions, so if you've been holding it in, let it out. Viv.
So, like, okay, so I know that, like, it's softball and then, like, life off of the field. Were you, like, 2 completely different people, like, personality-wise? Like, were you, like, crazy on the field, crazy off the field? I know that's, like, a really weird question.
No, you're
it's a
fine.
good
No, you
question.
ask everything.
No, it's a
So
good
I would
question.
say, yeah, for me, I was the typical, like, all right, I'm early to practice, I get my time in. But also, like, I was all about, like, especially in college, it was, even in high school, kind of, Tori knows, like, especially, like, how my parents me was school comes first. Like, if you don't have your stuff done, don't even ask to do anything or go anywhere. And I think that kind of helped me, like, be disciplined throughout high school and college. So, like, even, like, in elementary school, I still remember my mom being like, if your homework's done and your chores aren't done, don't even ask me to go to Tori's house. Or, like, junior high, don't even ask to go to Tori's house. If your chores aren't done and your homework's not done. So I kind of learned that way. But I would just say, like, on the field, I'm kind of, like, serious, but I also have fun. Like, it's important to have fun, not be, like, locked in every second, or it's gonna be real long, you know? But I'd say off the field, same thing. Like, I just took school seriously. Like, yeah, I went and would have fun with teammates and whatnot and socialize. But bringing up this topic is something that coaching at the junior college in Arizona at Mesa Community College, when I was coaching there, is understanding that you may not like everybody on your team. So this is something that we dealt with a lot. So it was like, some girls would come up to me, because one of the head coach is a male. So some things they wouldn't tell him, they would come up to me instead because they felt more comfortable. But they'd just be like, I don't really like so-and-so's attitude, or so-and-so did this, so-and-so. And I'm just like, yo, we're at practice right now. Like, I don't care who likes who, okay? We just need to get our work in, you know? So I think at this age, understanding that you may not like every single teammate. Like, I'm not trying to diss anybody right now. I'm just giving experience. Like, you may not like everybody, but on the field, I shouldn't know as a coach, Tori as a coach, like, she shouldn't know who likes who's bickering with who, or anything like that. Everybody is a team. Like, you guys are a team. And then once practice is over, you don't need to hang out with that person unless it's team bonding, you know? But it's just kind of one of those things. Like, I would say for me, I was always a teammate that got along with everybody. Like, I would go out of my way to acknowledge everybody on the team. And then, like, after that, I may have not liked certain people, or maybe it's not that I didn't like them, but it was just like, I wouldn't really hang out with them, whatever. But yeah, I would just say, get along with everybody and just be nice, you know? Spread kindness.
Yes. Another important thing Bree said is be you.
Yeah.
So if you're a super fun person, like, you don't have to hide that. Or if you're a serious person and you don't come to practice to play at all, like, do you. Whatever your personality is, you don't have to be like everybody else.
Yeah.
One more, girls. Uno más. Oh, Angie. First appearance, Angie. Go ahead, baby.
What did you do to prepare yourself for a game, like before a game?
Okay, this is a great question, and I'm really happy you asked this. Excuse me. Because for me, I would say junior or high school, I kind of just showed up. You know, I'm just like, let's go. I'm ready. And luckily, my sister was the athletic trainer, so she would stretch me before every game, which was just so cool. I didn't even have to think about it. But then I get to junior college, and guess what? My sister's not there to stretch me, and I'm just like going with the flow, you know? But I would say like halfway through my first year of college, I started a routine, and it would be whether it was trying to eat at the same time and make sure I pack snacks for the game because, like, yeah, you can have like seeds during the game, but like if you're not properly, if you don't have the proper nutrients prior to the game, like you're not going to be able to compete at your fullest potential, just kind of like me in that practice passing out, you know? So like game day, I always made sure I, well, first going back to getting enough sleep, make sure you get enough sleep. Okay. Make sure like you're hydrated. These are things that I would think about just cause like they call me Mama Brio, you know, and this is probably why, because I'm just like, did I get enough sleep? Am I hydrated? Did I eat well? So that all prepares you for the game. And then usually I would go 30 minutes prior to anybody getting there. I would usually text the coach to hit early. So it'd either be like 30 minutes before people had to get there or like 15 minutes just to like have time for myself to just hit off the tee, and then my coach would come early and pitch to me. And that was my way of just like getting my mind right and focusing, because especially like in school, if say I didn't do well on an exam at that time, or like say other things were on my mind, that time prior to the game just allowed me to kind of relax and just, it's okay, like get in the game mode. And that helped a lot. And that's really what I did in junior college. And same with ASU. Like we had to get there pretty early at ASU compared to junior college, but just making sure your nutrition is serious, like you're taking that seriously, because if you don't feel well, we had this saying at ASU, if you look good, you play good. So if you're just rolling up with a bun on your head and you got freaking mocos coming out of your nose and your makeup's not done, you're probably not going to be feeling great, you know? But if you show up, you comb your hair, and you don't even need to put makeup on if you don't want to, you know, but you look present and you look ready. Like that makes a difference. You look good, you play good.
Yes, we got that down for sure.
Good. Add a little bow in your hair.
Yes. Okay, girls. Any last dying question that anybody's like, oh, I wish I'd asked? Clarissa, go ahead.
Any hitting tips on low and inside?
Say it again.
Hitting tips on low and inside.
On inside pitch?
Low and inside.
Low inside. Okay, that was my favorite pitch. Because, okay, any low pitches for me, you have to allow the ball to travel. Because if you're early on a low pitch, you're going to hit it off the end of your bat, okay? And you're just not going to be powerful. So something that I teach my hitters is when your arms are bent, you're going to have power. So like say I had like, say this was like 30 pounds and I'm like holding this with my arms bent. It's probably doable. But if I'm out here holding 30 pounds, I'm going to be like, oh, like I have no power at all, right? So just understanding that low pitches, you got to allow them to travel. Inside low is kind of contradicting a little bit because you want to catch that inside pitch out front, right? But then you also want it to travel. So just kind of understanding, like what I would do is put a tee inside low and just work on your contact point of being palm up, palm down. You want your arms bent, and then you're staying through the zone all the way to the left field gap. So like I teach my hitters hit gap to gap. So if it's inside, you should be hitting it left center gap. If it's outside, right center gap. But just tee work primarily, and then whenever you're hitting, whenever that is, and you're doing front toss, like tell whoever's pitching to you, like, hey, can you just keep pitching them in? And what I like to do a lot is do takes. So your timing is very important. So if you're on time, you can hit any pitcher as long as you have decent technique, which I know you got good technique because your coach is right there. She's like, But yeah, just it's last thing is it's okay to be uncomfortable. So like if you're in there in practice and just going, not like you're going through the motions, but you're doing things that you're really good at. So like for me, inside low was my pitch, or anything low was my pitch. Why would I continue to work on that in practice if I know I'm good at it? Like you need to literally pinpoint what you need to improve on. So if it's inside low that I need to focus on, then in practice, you got to work on inside low. Or if it's outside that you don't like, you got to work on the outside. And that's something that some athletes don't enjoy, because in practice, you want to feel good, but like if you're working on specific pitches or specific locations that you're not comfortable with, then one, you're getting out of your comfort zone, and two, you may not be as consistent as you want to be, but that's how you're going to get better, and that's what practice is for.
Yes, practice your weaknesses.
Yes.
I love it. Great advice.
Thank you.
Well, girls, unmute yourselves. Give a big thank you or any comments you want.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Ella.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
guys are
Thank
welcome.
you.
Can anybody
Thank
sing
you.
or anybody rap or anything cool?
Anybody
do
sing
anything?
rap? We have a lot of dancers.
Bella can
Ooh.
rap.
What about them TikToks? I've been seeing all these TikToks. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Their TikTok is underway. You should be seeing something soon.
Okay, right on.
Yeah.
They have some really serious
Thank you,
TikToks.
Bree, for jumping on.
You're welcome. No problem.
I'll see you guys later.
Yes, you guys can hop off. Thank you.
You're
Bree,
welcome.
Bree, you stay.
Yeah, I'll stay.
Bree.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye,
You're
girls.
welcome.
Love you. Behave.
Take care.
Behave.
You behave.
Coach Tori,
What's up, girl?
I had like one more question for her.
Go ahead.
How did you work through like missed class time?
Miss